When my doctor stared at my chart and said, "Eleanor, your test results don't match your age," I thought something was wrong. "You're 78, he said, "but your body's acting like it's 60. I've never seen numbers like this." I was stunned. I hadn't done anything extraordinary. No marathons, no superfoods, no expensive supplements, just live my life. But somehow, I'd held on to abilities that most people my age had already lost. And those abilities, as my doctor explained, were the reason I'd likely outlived my peers by a full decade. At first, I didn't believe him, but what he showed me next changed everything. There are 7 specific things, movements, habits, reflexes, that silently predict how well you're aging. If you can still do even a few of them, you're in an elite group. But if you've already lost 1 or 2, the clock is ticking. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through all 7. I'll tell you what they are, how they save my independence, and what you can do today to reclaim them before it's too late. This isn't about looking young. It's about staying alive, staying sharp, and staying in control. So let me ask you, can you stand up without using your hands? Can you talk while you walk? Can you balance on one foot? You'll find out why those questions matter more than any blood test. Right now. I never considered myself extraordinary. My name is Eleanor Reynolds. I'm 78 years old, a retired librarian, and I live alone in a small cottage outside Asheville, North Carolina. I keep a garden, read too many mystery novels, and take care of a very spoiled cat named Jasper. I don't run marathons. I don't juice kale. I've never been to a yoga class in my life. But somehow, according to my doctor, I'm part of a rare group of people who age exceptionally well. Not just doing fine for my age, not just getting by, but thriving, living independently, remembering names, sleeping through the night, learning new technology like it's nothing. I didn't know how unusual that was until my routine checkup last fall. It started like any other appointment: blood pressure, reflexes, a few balance tests. But then the doctor asked me to do something strange. He said, "Eleanor, I want you to stand up from this chair without using your hands." I laughed. "That's it?" I crossed my arms over my chest, leaned forward just a little, and stood up. No problem. But when I looked at him, his eyebrows were raised. He scribbled something in his notes, shook his head slightly, then asked, "Would you mind doing it again?" I did, then again. Finally, he said, "Do you know how rare this is? Most of my patients over 70 can't do this at all." I was confused. It felt so normal, just standing up. Then he explained. This single movement, standing up without assistance, predicts far more than people realize. It's not just about muscles. It tells us about lower body strength, balance, coordination, and neuromuscular health. You'd be shocked how many people lose this ability and never get it back. That moment stuck with me. I walked out of his office that day feeling both proud and a little worried. What if one day I couldn't do it anymore? I started to wonder, how many other little things do I take for granted? Things that quietly indicate how well I'm aging. I did some digging. I asked more questions. I found research studies, medical papers, even talked to friends who work in physical therapy and geriatric care. And what I found was stunning. There are 7 key abilities that determine whether someone in their late 60s, 70s, or even 80s is aging well, or silently declining. These aren't flashy athletic feats. Most of them look simple, mundane even, but they hold the power to predict your independence, your brain function, and even how many years you have left. I've been lucky. I can still do all 7, but I don't think it's luck anymore. These abilities are trainable, they're preservable, and if you start now, today, you can regain them too. So, I want to walk you through each one. I'll tell you how I discovered it, what science says about it, and how you can test and train for it at home. Let's begin with the very first one, the same one that surprised my doctor: standing up from a chair without using your hands. It sounds simple, but it might be the single most important thing you do today. Let me ask you something. Right now, wherever you're sitting, can you stand up without using your hands? I mean it. No pushing off the armrests, no using your knees. Just cross your arms over your chest and rise. Go ahead, try it. If you did that smoothly, without wobbling or straining, you've just passed one of the most powerful longevity tests doctors use today. Sounds dramatic, doesn't it? But according to a study from the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy, this single movement is so revealing that it's now used to predict not only fall risk, but lifespan. Why? Because standing up from a seated position without using your hands requires three rare things in older adults: lower body strength, balance, neuromuscular coordination, all of which decline rapidly after age 65, unless you actively fight to keep them. Let me tell you about a friend of mine, Carolyn. She's 74. We've been in the same church book club for over a decade. Sweet, sharp-witted, still drives her little blue Prius everywhere. At one of our meetings, we were all sitting on those deep, plush living room couches. You know the ones? It feels like you sink 3 feet down. When the meeting ended, I stood up effortlessly and went to get my coat. Then I heard someone say, "Wait, Eleanor, can you give me a hand?" It was Carolyn. She was struggling, both hands pressed against the cushions, leaning hard, wincing a little. I reached out to help, but in that moment, I realized something chilling. 6 other women were still seated, all waiting for someone else to help them stand up. I was the only one who could do it without assistance. I never forgot that day, because 6 months later, Carolyn tripped in her kitchen and fractured her pelvis. She needed surgery, then rehab, and eventually moved into assisted living. She's still sharp, but she's not independent anymore, and it started with losing that one simple movement. The truth is, by age 70, over 60% of adults can't stand up from a chair without using their hands. By 75, that number climbs even higher. But here's the good news. You can retrain this ability, even if you've already lost it. Here's how. Every morning before breakfast, perform 5 chair stands. Sit down in a firm chair, cross your arms, then stand up, no hands. If 5 is too hard, start with 1. That's okay. Progress is what matters. Do it every day. Within 3 weeks, you'll notice improvement, maybe even dramatic change. It's a small practice, but it's a lifeline. Don't wait until you need a walker to realize your legs have weakened. Don't wait until a fall breaks your hip to wish you'd done more. Start now, because the ability to stand up on your own isn't just about dignity, it's about freedom, about staying in your own home, about walking across the room without fear. And believe me, when you still have that ability at 78, people notice. Next, let's talk about another hidden ability that might seem ordinary, until you realize just how few people your age still have it. Can you hold a conversation while walking, without slowing down or running out of breath? If so, you're about to find out why that may be one of the strongest signs of a sharp, oxygen-rich brain. I'll never forget the moment it clicked. It was a sunny Thursday morning, and I was walking through the park with my grandson Mason. He's 10, curious, chatty, and bursting with questions about everything from dinosaurs to black holes. We were halfway through our usual loop when he suddenly stopped, looked up at me, and said, "Grandma, you don't breathe heavy like Dad when we walk and talk. You're not even tired." I laughed, but deep down, I felt something else: pride and surprise. You see, I've never thought twice about walking and talking at the same time. I just do it. But what Mason noticed wasn't a fluke. It was a sign of something most people don't realize. The ability to walk and hold a conversation without slowing down or gasping for air is one of the strongest predictors of brain health after 65. Don't believe me? Ask the neurologists at the Mayo Clinic. They've studied this for years, and they call it dual task capacity. Dr. James Wilson, one of their lead researchers, explains, "The ability to walk and talk simultaneously requires exceptional coordination between your heart, lungs, muscles, and, most importantly, your brain. It's one of the first things to decline when cognitive function starts slipping. Let that sink in. Most people think memory loss is the first red flag, but often it's this: the inability to move and think at the same time. You've probably seen it. People your age who walk in silence, only talking when they pause to catch their breath, or those who stop walking altogether just to tell a story. It's not a choice, it's a sign. I had a friend named Dennis. He used to be the life of every walk in our neighborhood group. Funny, fast-paced, always full of stories. But over time, something changed. He started walking slower, then quieter, until one day, he just stopped coming. He'd suffered a mini-stroke, and the signs had been there all along. Now, I'm not saying every silent walk means something is wrong, but I am saying this: if you can walk and talk at the same time, consistently and without strain, you're doing something remarkable. Your heart is strong, your brain is sharp, and your systems are still communicating the way they should. But like everything else we've talked about, It's a skill you can strengthen. Here's what I do. Next time you go for a walk, recite a poem aloud, sing a favorite tune, or count backwards from 100. It sounds silly, but it works. Even starting with just 30 seconds of walking and talking can activate neural pathways that protect your brain. And the more you do it, the stronger they get. This isn't just exercise, it's insurance against strokes, cognitive decline, and early loss of independence. So ask yourself, can you walk and talk without stopping? If yes, protect that ability like gold. If not, start now. Because a mind that can move while thinking is a mind that stays alive longer. Coming up next, can you balance on one foot for 10 seconds without holding on to anything? It might sound like a game, but science says it could predict how long you'll live. Let's do something simple together right now. Wherever you are, if it's safe, stand up. Place one hand near a counter or sturdy chair, just in case. Now, lift 1 foot an inch off the ground. Start counting. 1, 2, 3. If you made it to 10 seconds without holding on or stumbling, you've just passed a test that's been proven to predict your risk of death more accurately than your age. Sounds shocking, right? But it's real. A groundbreaking study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed over 1,700 older adults. They found that those who couldn't balance on 1 foot for 10 seconds had an 84% higher risk of dying within the next decade, even if they had no other health issues. 84%. Why? Because balance isn't just about muscles, it's a full-body signal. It tells us if your brain is communicating with your limbs, if your inner ear, the vestibular system, is functioning, if your reflexes are still sharp enough to save you from a fall. You don't lose balance in a day. It fades quietly until one wrong step changes everything. I saw this happen with my sister, Margaret. She used to tease me when I practiced my balance at the sink while brushing my teeth. She'd laugh and say, "What are you, training for the circus?" I'd just smile and lift 1 foot anyway. Then one winter morning, she slipped while getting out of the shower. She fractured her hip. It was a clean break, but the recovery, it broke more than her bones. She moved slower, grew afraid of stairs. Eventually, she stopped going out alone. And that's how independence fades, not with a diagnosis, but with a fall. I miss the version of her that was fearless. So please, don't wait for gravity to humble you. Do this instead. Every day, practice standing on 1 foot for just 5 seconds. Switch feet. Repeat 3 times. As you improve, extend to 10, 15, even 20 seconds. The best time to do this? While brushing your teeth, while waiting for your coffee, while microwaving your lunch. Moments you'd otherwise waste turned into life-saving practice. If you wobbled or couldn't do the test today, don't panic. What matters is that you start. Balance can be rebuilt, but only if you work on it. Because when your body forgets how to steady itself, it's not just your posture at risk, it's your freedom, your confidence, and your ability to live without someone watching over you. Still standing? Then you've got something most of your peers have lost, and that's something worth protecting. Next, let's shift from physical to mental, because the next sign of exceptional aging is in your memory. Can you remember the names of new people you meet, or details from a conversation last week? If so, you may have something even doctors can't measure, a brain that's aging backward. Let me tell you a secret no one ever told me about aging. Losing your memory is not inevitable. I used to believe it was. I assumed forgetting names, appointments, or where you parked the car was just part of the package once you crossed 70. But then something happened that made me question everything. It was my granddaughter's birthday party. She was turning 9. There were over 20 people there, most of whom I'd only met once or twice. As I made my way around the room, I greeted every guest by name. "Hi, Jennifer. How's your son, Kyle, doing in soccer? Jim, I remember you mentioned switching to a plant-based diet. How's that going?" People were shocked. One woman pulled me aside and said, "I'm 52 and can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday. How do you do this?" I didn't know what to say. I wasn't trying. It just happened naturally. Later that night, I found myself wondering, why was my memory still so sharp when so many others my age were struggling? That's when I found the studies. According to researchers at Harvard Medical School, the ability to remember names and recent events after 65 isn't normal. It's exceptional. It means your brain's neural networks are still firing like they did decades ago. And people like that, they live longer. They stay independent. They resist dementia at rates 40 to 50% better than their peers. If you're starting to struggle with memory, don't panic. It's not too late. Here's one thing I do every night before bed. I review the people I met that day. I picture their faces, repeat their names, one unique detail about each of them. It's a 5-minute mental workout that builds memory like a muscle, but it only works if you're sleeping well. Which brings us to the fifth sign of exceptional aging. You sleep soundly and wake up feeling refreshed. It might seem obvious, but trust me, this one's rare. A study from Stanford Center for Sleep Sciences found that after 65, most people experience fragmented, shallow sleep. But those who maintain deep, consistent rest, they're different. They have lower inflammation, better hormone regulation, sharper focus, and a 32% lower risk of heart disease and stroke. I'll be honest, this one didn't come easy for me. I used to wake up 3, sometimes 4 times a night, restless, anxious, staring at the clock. Then I made a few changes. I keep my bedroom dark, no screens for an hour before bed. I go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day, even weekends. And I keep the room cool, between 65 and 68 degrees. Simple shifts, huge difference. I wake up clear-headed, energetic, ready to take on the day without needing 3 cups of coffee. Here's the truth. If your memory is still sharp and your sleep is still deep, your brain isn't just surviving, it's thriving. And that's not luck. That's preservation. That's habit. That's quiet, invisible power. Coming up next, can you carry a conversation without dominating it, without interrupting, repeating yourself, or drifting off? If you can, you're showing signs of a brain that's more intact than most 30-year-olds. Let me ask you a question most people never consider. When you talk with someone, do you listen as much as you speak? It sounds simple, but the ability to have a balanced, meaningful conversation, especially after 65, is becoming incredibly rare. I first noticed this during lunch with an old friend, Linda. We'd gone to school together, reconnected after decades, and decided to catch up. But the moment we sat down, she started talking. And talking and talking. I nodded, smiled, tried to interject, but it didn't matter. She was lost in her stories, repeating the same memories, jumping from one topic to the next without ever asking me a thing. It wasn't rudeness, it wasn't ego, it was decline. According to social neuroscientists at UCLA, the ability to engage in reciprocal conversation, that natural rhythm of listening, pausing, responding, is governed by the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that controls social awareness, impulse, and focus. And guess what? It's one of the first areas to weaken with age. That's why so many older adults start dominating conversations or repeat stories without realizing it. But if you can still hold space for others, if you ask thoughtful questions, if you notice when it's time to listen, you're not just being polite, you're showing exceptional brain function. Victor, a friend of mine from church, is 81 and still the most engaging conversationalist I know. People love talking with him, not because he's loud, but because he listens, he reflects, he remembers, he cares. And that kind of brain lasts longer. Want to strengthen yours? Next time you speak with someone, set a quiet goal, 2 questions for every one story you tell. And before you respond, summarize what they said first. Just a sentence or 2. It's not just good manners, it's brain training. But there's one more sign left, one that might surprise you. Are you still willing to learn new technology? Do you adapt or resist? Because if you're over 65 and can use a smartphone, navigate apps, or learn a new digital tool without meltdown or frustration, you are in the minority, and you're showing something extraordinary: cognitive flexibility. A recent MIT study found that seniors who stay curious and adaptable with technology, yes, even simple apps, have higher neuroplasticity. That means their brains are literally growing new connections. Let me introduce you to Emily. She's 76, lives alone, and runs her entire life from an iPad. She video chats with her doctor, orders groceries online, plays brain games, sends birthday memes to her grandkids. Her friends call her the tech wizard. And when the pandemic hit, while many her age were isolated, scared, and cut off, Emily stayed connected, informed, and independent. That's not just cute, that's life-saving. If you've been avoiding technology, start now. Pick one thing: texting, video calling, using a calendar app. Spend 10 minutes a day learning it. Ask someone to show you. Watch a tutorial. Be patient with yourself. Because the moment you say, "I'm too old for this," your brain believes you, and it stops trying. But when you say, "I haven't learned this yet," you keep it alive. So ask yourself, are you still learning, still adapting, still growing? If yes, then congratulations. You're not just aging well, you're aging exceptionally. So let's take a breath. If you've made it this far, you've heard the 7 powerful signs, the quiet indicators that you're not just surviving after 65, you're thriving. You're holding on to things that most people around you have already lost. Let's recap them one last time. You can stand up from a chair without using your hands. You can walk and talk without slowing down or losing breath. You can balance on one foot for 10 seconds or more. You remember names and recent events with clarity. You sleep soundly and wake up refreshed. You have conversations that feel balanced, not one-sided. You adapt to new technology without fear or frustration. If you can still do even 3 or 4 of these things, you are aging exceptionally. You are the 1% of older adults still holding on to these extraordinary abilities. And if there are some you've lost, you can get them back. Not all at once, not overnight, but piece by piece, day by day, practice by quiet, determined practice. I want to leave you with something my father told me long before he passed. The moment you stop stretching, physically or mentally, is the moment you start shrinking. And that's stuck with me for decades. You see, most people think aging is about sitting back, slowing down, handing off responsibility, but not you. If you're watching this, if you're testing your balance, challenging your brain, or simply curious about how to improve, you're doing what the exceptional few do. You're leading. You're showing your family, your friends, even your doctors, that age doesn't define vitality. Habits do, mindset does, persistence does. So, don't let anyone tell you you're too old for that. Not when you still have power in your step. Not when your mind is still curious. Not when your life, right now, is the proof that growing older doesn't mean fading away. It means standing taller in what you've earned. Here's what I want you to do. Pick just one of the 7 signs we talked about today. Just one. Make it a mission, a small daily ritual, something you claim and commit to. Whether it's standing without using your hands, holding a conversation with more listening, or learning how to use a video call to see your grandkids' smiles. That one action could change your next 10 years. Because here's the truth. The people who age exceptionally aren't lucky. They're intentional. And now that you know what to look for, you can be one of them. I believe in you. So, which of the 7 signs do you still have? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear where you stand. And if you found this story meaningful, share it with someone you care about. It might just add years to their life too. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strong, and never stop moving forward.